The afternoon sun poured through the tall windows of the London townhouse where the interview was being filmed. Sam Heughan sat in a soft leather chair, his hands clasped loosely in front of him. His blue eyes carried a mixture of calm and anticipation, the sort of look a man has when he knows the world is about to see a part of him he's kept private for years. Opposite him sat a journalist from a well-known magazine, her recorder blinking red. She had already asked him about his career, the Outlander phenomenon, his whiskey brand, his running marathons for charity. But everyone in the room knew the big question was still coming. The one about Dakota Johnson. For months the tabloids had speculated, weaving stories about stolen glances at festivals, chance meetings at charity galas, and weekends in the Scottish Highlands. Sam had neither confirmed nor denied anything. Dakota, equally private, had deflected questions with a smile. But this afternoon was different. Sam had agreed to speak about the person who inspires my next chapter. That phrase alone had sent the entertainment press into a frenzy. The journalist leaned forward. Sam, she said, there's something the public's been dying to know. You've always been very private about your relationships. But you've been seen several times with Dakota Johnson. People are wondering, is there something you'd like to tell us? Sam inhaled slowly, then exhaled. His fingers tightened on his knees. Yes, he said finally. I think it's time. The camera zoomed in. His voice softened but carried a gravity that made the room go silent. I'm in love with Dakota Johnson, he said. And I want to marry her. The journalist blinked, her practiced professionalism faltering for a second. You want to marry her? Yes. Sam's gaze was steady. And today I'm going to tell you, and her, and everyone, why. Months earlier, Sam had flown to Los Angeles for a charity gala supporting environmental restoration in Scotland. He was used to such events, red carpets, quick photo calls, polite conversations with actors and executives. He didn't expect anything different that night. Dakota had arrived wearing a deep green dress that matched the emerald shade of the gala's theme. She wasn't there for publicity but to honor a family friend who had worked in conservation for decades. When Sam first saw her across the hall, she was laughing at something a young volunteer said. Not the polite, forced laugh of a celebrity on display, but a real, sudden, almost musical laugh. Later he would tell friends, it wasn't about her being famous. It was that laugh. I'd been in rooms full of powerful people, but that sound cut through everything. Their first conversation lasted only a few minutes, about Scotland and about a book Dakota was reading. Yet when she turned to leave, she looked back at him, and something unspoken passed between them. Over the next months, they crossed paths at film festivals and charity events. They shared a quiet dinner in Edinburgh during a week when both happened to be filming nearby. Each time, their conversations grew deeper: books, travel, family, the odd loneliness of living in the public eye. But they also shared something rarer: silence. Comfortable, unhurried silences on long walks by the river or over tea in a hotel lobby, when neither needed to speak to feel understood. Both knew what the tabloids could do. Sam had watched his own private life turned into speculative headlines before. Dakota had seen her relationships reduced to gossip items. They agreed early on to keep things quiet. No selfies, no official appearances, no red carpet declarations. Yet as their bond deepened, the secrecy began to feel like a cage. Sam found himself writing long letters he never sent. Dakota kept a notebook of thoughts she wanted to share but didn't. Their friends noticed the change. Sam's usually easygoing charm carried a trace of distraction. Dakota's calm humor had a new softness when his name came up. Sam later described it as living in two worlds at once, the public one, and the real one with her. And slowly, he realized he didn't want to keep them separate forever. It was a rainy evening in Glasgow when Sam knew. They had taken refuge in a small cafe after a day of walking in the Highlands. The windows fogged with condensation. Outside, the streets glistened. Dakota was telling a story about her grandmother's garden in Colorado, and for some reason Sam imagined a future, not a fleeting visit, but a life. She deserves someone who will stand up for her publicly, he thought. She deserves to know I'm not hiding. That night he told her, I think we're at a point where we either keep this a secret forever, or we step into the light together. She looked at him for a long time and then smiled softly. I was waiting for you to say that. Now, in the London townhouse, Sam felt the weight of years of silence lifting. He spoke about how Dakota's kindness, intelligence and humor had helped him through one of the most stressful seasons of his career. How she had challenged him to slow down, to reconnect with his roots in Scotland, to write poetry again, something he hadn't done since drama school. He told the journalist, it's not about fame. It's not about two people from Hollywood making a headline. It's about finding someone who sees you when the cameras are off. Someone who reminds you who you were before all this. He paused. That's why I want to marry her. Because with her, I'm not Sam Heughan the actor. I'm just Sam. The room was silent. Even the crew seemed moved. When the interview aired a week later, it felt like a small earthquake in the entertainment world. Social media exploded with messages. Fans of Outlander, admirers of Dakota, people who had suspected for months, all reacting at once. Some posts were supportive and full of heart emojis, others were skeptical, calling it a publicity stunt. Sam didn't check his phone that night. Instead, he was in New York with Dakota, sitting on a rooftop terrace overlooking the Hudson River. They shared a blanket against the cool breeze. You're quiet, Dakota said, sipping tea. I feel relieved, Sam answered. Like I finally exhaled after holding my breath for a year. Dakota smiled. I know the feeling. She reached out and squeezed his hand. We're in this together, right? Always, he said. They sat in silence, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. Sam thought about all the interviews where he had smiled politely and dodged questions, about all the times he had wanted to shout his feelings but had held back. Now, for the first time, the world knew, and it felt strangely peaceful. Back in Scotland, Sam returned to his family home for a few days. In his study, he found the drawer where he had hidden dozens of unsent letters to Dakota, confessions, fragments of poems, sketches of their travels. He stacked them neatly, tied them with a ribbon, and decided to give them to her. When Dakota visited him in Edinburgh 2 weeks later, he placed the bundle in her hands. These are for you, he said. I wrote them when I didn't know how to say things out loud. She opened the first one and read a few lines, tears welling in her eyes. You kept all of this? Yes. I've been keeping something too. She pulled a small notebook from her bag, a journal filled with notes she had written to him in secret. They laughed at the symmetry of it, then held each other for a long time. Sam's decision to propose wasn't impulsive. He spent weeks planning something meaningful rather than flashy. He didn't want a red carpet or paparazzi. He wanted intimacy, roots, a sense of home. He chose a small stone cottage on the Isle of Skye where his grandparents had once lived. He arranged for a local musician to play quietly by the fireplace, and for a chef to prepare their favorite dishes with Scottish ingredients. Inside his jacket pocket, he carried a simple ring, an antique piece he had found in a little shop in Inverness, engraved with a Celtic knot. The night arrived. The sky above Skye was streaked with violet clouds, the sea below restless and shining in the moonlight. Dakota stood on the cliff path, her hair whipped by the wind, her eyes wide with wonder at the view. Sam took her hand. This is where my grandparents built their first home, he said. It's where my parents met. It's where I learned what love can look like. She squeezed his hand, sensing the tremor in his voice. I used to think being an actor meant living everywhere and nowhere, he continued. But you make me feel like I have a place, like I'm found. He knelt on one knee, the ring catching the moonlight. Dakota Johnson, he said softly, will you marry me? Her breath caught. For a moment, the only sound was the sea below. Then she smiled through tears. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Sam. He slipped the ring onto her finger. The musician inside began to play a soft Gaelic melody, and the wind carried the notes around them like a blessing. They spent the evening by the fireplace, sipping whiskey and laughing. No paparazzi, no hashtags, just two people making a promise. Later, Sam would tell friends, that night on Skye felt like the real beginning. When they returned to London, the world was already buzzing with news of the proposal. A photo of Dakota's hand with the antique ring, posted quietly on her Instagram story, had gone viral in minutes. But for Sam and Dakota, the noise outside didn't matter. They had found something deeper than headlines. Months later, in another interview, Sam explained what marriage meant to him now, not an escape from his career but a home base within it. We'll both keep working, he said, but we'll also protect what we have. Because love isn't just a moment, it's a choice you make every day. Dakota echoed him in a magazine profile. We're not a fairy tale. We're two people who've been through a lot, choosing to walk together. Fans responded with warmth, sending letters, art, and messages. In a world hungry for drama, the couple's quiet sincerity became its own kind of headline.